The moment I walked into the glass-walled lobby of Carter Innovations, I thought I'd stepped into the future I'd been chasing for years. High ceilings, polished marble floors, sleek black and silver furniture, and the soft hum of employees moving efficiently like a well-oiled machine. I was ready to prove myself, to show that I wasn't just someone who had failed at marriage, who had abandoned a life once, but a woman capable of brilliance on her own terms. I had worked tirelessly the past 2 years, moving from one underpaying firm to another, taking night classes, networking, and sending out resumes in a sea of rejection. This job, this opportunity, was the culmination of all that struggle. And then I saw him, Ethan Carter. He wasn't behind a desk. He wasn't rushing through a hallway. He stood at the reception desk, dressed in a crisp navy suit that screamed power and authority. His tie was perfectly knotted, his shoes polished to a mirror shine, and his hair, of course his hair, was exactly the way it always had been, effortlessly perfect. I froze mid-step, my portfolio clutched too tightly in my hand. My brain screamed to run, to turn and leave, but my legs refused to cooperate. His eyes met mine. For a fraction of a second, I thought he might not recognize me. But then his brow furrowed, his mouth parted slightly, and the world tilted on its axis. "Lily." His voice, low, deep, familiar, hit me harder than I expected. I swallowed. My throat went dry. Iwisparat. The receptionist smiled, completely oblivious. "Ethan, this is Lily Parker, the candidate for the project lead position." Ethan's gaze didn't leave me. He didn't even nod at the introduction. His expression was neutral, almost unreadable, but the tension radiating from him made the room feel impossibly small. "Well, this is unexpected," he said finally. "Before we begin, if you enjoy stories that touch the heart and remind us of life's quiet miracles, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It truly helps our little storytelling family grow." "You're hired," he said after a pause. I blinked. "Excuse me." "You heard me," he said, his voice firm but not unkind. "You have the skills, the experience, and apparently the guts to walk into my office and face me after 2 years. Congratulations, Lily. Welcome to Carter Innovations." I wanted to protest, to say something clever, but my mind went blank. I nodded, forced a smile, and whispered, "Thank you." And then the recruiter, oblivious to the tension, walked us through the onboarding paperwork, leaving Ethan and me alone for just a few seconds in the massive office. Seconds that felt like hours. "Why are you here?" he asked softly, almost a whisper, but the weight of those words pressed into my chest. I almost laughed bitterly. I need this job." He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, studying me in a way that made every muscle in my body tense. His gaze wasn't accusatory or angry. It was sharper, more perceptive than ever. It was the gaze that had seen me at my most vulnerable. The one that had read me like an open book. "Lily," he finally said, his voice low, deliberate. "If you had known this was my company, you wouldn't have applied, would you?" I bit my lip. How could I answer that? The truth was simple. If I'd known, maybe I would have fled. Or maybe I would have stayed, but not with the calm, collected confidence I hoped I'd developed. Instead, I simply said, "I didn't know." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. I don't want excuses. Just results. And, let's see if you can survive working with me, since you couldn't survive being married to me." The words cut deeper than I expected. Flashback. Why I left. 2 years ago, I thought I was doing the right thing. Ethan and I had been married for 5 years. Married young, ambitious, and convinced that love alone was enough. A tech company that would eventually dominate the regional market. He poured himself into the business, consumed by every spreadsheet, every meeting, every investor call. I tried to support him. I really did. I spent nights worrying, sending him reminders, helping with presentations, holding our small apartment together while he worked around the clock. But in trying to be perfect, To hold everything together, I forgot about myself. I worked as a paralegal, nights and weekends, trying to assert my independence, but it never felt like enough. He came home tired, irritable, frustrated with the world, and I was easy to blame. If the apartment wasn't spotless, if dinner wasn't on time, if Tyler, our son, misbehaved, it was somehow my fault. Tyler, my sweet boy now 12. I left him too, in a way, though I had convinced myself I was sparing him from the tension and arguments. 2 years ago, I walked away. I told myself I needed space, independence, freedom. But I ran. Not from him, not from Tyler, not even from the marriage. I ran from the fear that I wasn't enough. And now, standing in front of him, I realized that some runs never truly end. The office, a battlefield and a classroom. The first week on the job was a careful dance. Ethan was professional, painstakingly so, but there was no denying the tension that crackled every time our eyes met across a conference table. He didn't ignore me. He didn't humiliate me. He simply existed as a constant reminder of the life I had abandoned. Meetings were the worst. I could feel his gaze as he evaluated my every decision, every presentation, every word I uttered. Sometimes he would compliment my work, but his compliments were rare, precise, and always followed by a quiet challenge. "You did well," he would say, "but I know you can do better. Don't let yourself forget it." Each time my chest tightened. Was it encouragement? Or a subtle test of my loyalty? Even Tyler would occasionally text me during the week, small updates that reminded me of home. I longed to see him, to hug him, but I had made my choice. I was rebuilding myself. I was learning to stand on my own. And yet every day, I wondered, could I rebuild this too? Could I ever face Ethan not just as my ex, but as the man I still loved, in a professional space that had become our new battlefield? The first spark of chaos. It was a Tuesday afternoon. The office was quiet except for the hum of computers. I was going over a presentation when Ethan approached, holding a cup of coffee. "I thought you might want this," he said, placing it on my desk. I looked up. Our hands brushed for the briefest moment. Electricity shot through me. My heartbeat quickened. Thanks," I murmured. He lingered. "How's the new team treating you?" "Good," I said, hiding my nerves. He smiled. "Just slightly, just enough to make my knees weaken. I hope you're not being too hard on them. You were always a little intense with group projects." I laughed softly. "You mean, like I used to be with you?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at me as though he were weighing my words, reading between the lines of my tone, my expression, my very soul. "Maybe," he said finally. "Maybe not enough." And just like that, I realized, working with my ex-husband was going to be more dangerous than I'd ever imagined. Not because he could fire me, but because he could still break me, in ways I hadn't prepared for. A glimpse of the old flame. By the end of that first week, I noticed the subtle reminders of our past everywhere. The way he paused at my desk, almost as if memorizing my presence. The slight crease in his brow when I handled a client issue successfully. The way he unconsciously mimicked gestures we had once shared. Leaning back in a chair the same way, running a hand through his hair in that familiar, nervous pattern. And late one night, when a minor server issue kept us both in the office past midnight, we found ourselves alone in the darkened space. The emergency lights hummed softly, and we instinctively reached for the same file cabinet at the same time. Our hands brushed. "Sorry," I whispered, my heart racing. "You always say that," he murmured, voice low and intimate. I looked up at him, startled. "What's that supposed to mean?" He took a slow breath. "You said sorry when you left too." And in that moment, I felt it. The truth I had buried deep inside myself. 2 years hadn't dulled my feelings. They had only sharpened them, made them more painful, more impossible to ignore. I swallowed, my throat tight, sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The entire marketing team was there, along with Ethan and a few senior executives. I was presenting the quarterly campaign analysis when Ethan leaned forward. His eyes narrowed slightly, not in criticism, but in a way that made my stomach knot. "You missed the projection on the Carter account," he said quietly. I swallowed. I'm recalculating the data as we speak. I wanted to make sure I had the most accurate numbers before presenting. He tilted his head, evaluating me. "I appreciate accuracy, but I need speed too. Can you do that?" "Yes," I said firmly, even though my heart was hammering. For the rest of the meeting, I felt like I was walking a tightrope. One wrong word, one hesitation, and he could crush me professionally or emotionally. I kept reminding myself, he is my boss. He is my ex, keep it professional. But as I spoke, I caught him glancing at me across the table, his eyes softening ever so slightly. Not a critique, not judgment. Something else. Something dangerous. The lunch that turned my world upside down. After the meeting, I ducked into the small break room to grab a coffee. To my surprise, Ethan followed. "Mind if I join?" he asked. His voice was low, casual, but there was an edge of something that made my pulse quicken. Sure," I stammered. We sat across from each other in silence for a moment, each pretending to scroll through emails, each acutely aware of the other's presence. Then he set down his mug and leaned forward. "You've changed," he said quietly. I blinked. "Changed how?" "You're sharper. More confident. And yet," he hesitated, his eyes locking onto mine. "Still the same girl I couldn't quite figure out." I laughed nervously. "That sounds like a compliment and a warning at the same time." He smirked, the familiar curve of his lips making my heart stutter. Maybe both. We fell into a strange rhythm that afternoon. Conversations that danced along the edge of flirtation, teasing, and caution. Every word carried weight. Every glance was loaded. And yet, we both pretended the past didn't exist. Pretended the divorce hadn't scarred us. Pretended the nights apart hadn't left holes in our hearts. A glimpse of the past. Later that week, the office was buzzing with preparations for a major client presentation. Ethan called me into his office to go over last-minute adjustments. As I walked in, I noticed the subtle details that reminded me of our old life together. The framed photo of the first company office he'd founded, the little coffee mug he always used, the way he tapped his pen against his desk when deep in thought. And then he looked at me, and I felt it all come rushing back. The love, the pain, the longing. "You've grown," he said softly, almost a whisper. I swallowed hard. "So have you." We stood there for a moment, the silence stretching between us. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't tense. It was charged, electric, filled with everything we had left unsaid. Then he cleared his throat. "Let's focus. The clients are expecting perfection." And just like that, the moment passed, leaving me breathless and dizzy. The after-hours tension. That night, a power outage struck the building. The office lights flickered, then died, leaving only the emergency lighting humming softly. I was the last person in the office, reviewing campaign charts on my laptop when I heard footsteps. "Lily." Ethan. He was holding a flashlight, scanning the darkened room. "You okay?" "Yes." "I've fine," he whispered. He moved closer, and suddenly, the space between us felt impossibly small. His presence was overwhelming. The scent of his cologne, the warmth radiating off his body, the way he carried himself with that same quiet intensity that had once made my knees weak. We both reached for the same file cabinet. Our hands brushed. Electricity shot through me. My pulse raced. "Sorry," I whispered. "You always say that," he murmured. His voice was low, intimate, and it made my chest tighten. I looked up at him, caught in the gravity of his gaze. "What's that supposed to mean?" He leaned back slightly, avoiding my eyes. "You said it when you left too." A sharp pang of guilt and longing hit me. I didn't mean to leave you like that. I admitted. He swallowed, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his face. I didn't mean to lose you either. The words hung in the air, unspoken emotions bridging the gap between us. In that moment, 2 years of separation melted away, leaving only the raw truth. We still had feelings unprocessed, unresolved, and dangerously potent. Jealousy enters the equation. The next week, Rebecca, the company's CFO, made her presence known. She was tall, stunning, and clearly interested in Ethan. I noticed the way she laughed at his jokes, the slight touches on his arm during casual conversations. My chest tightened every time I saw them together. The office suddenly felt smaller, my work harder, my heart heavier. Ethan noticed too. I could see it in the way he glanced at me across the conference room table. The way his jaw tightened whenever Rebecca approached him. There was tension in the air, unspoken but undeniable. That night, as I left the office, my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. Don't let anyone make you doubt yourself. You're incredible. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. My heart ached. I typed back. Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you here. No reply. Not immediately. But the message lingered in the air. A promise, a warning, and a challenge all at once. The spark of forbidden feelings. By the end of part 2's first month, the tension was unbearable. Every shared glance, every lingering conversation, every accidental touch sent shockwaves through me. And I knew, Ethan was feeling it too. We were professionals. We were colleagues. We were exes. And yet, in the quiet moments between meetings, in the hushed office corridors, in the faint glow of computer screens after hours, it became increasingly clear. Working for my ex-husband wasn't just a career challenge. It was a test of will, restraint, and heart. Because old love has a way of finding its way back, no matter how hard you try to bury it. And deep down, I realized I didn't want it buried anymore. The office buzzed with excitement and stress all week. Carter Innovation's annual gala was the highlight of the year. Investors, partners, and industry leaders would be present. For me, it was more than just a work event. It was a minefield. I had survived Ethan in the office, navigated the tension, endured the subtle reminders of the past. But a gala? An evening of wine, lights, and endless social interaction? That was a whole new kind of danger. The dress that spoke volumes. I spent hours in front of the mirror, holding up different outfits and questioning every choice. Finally, I settled on a deep emerald gown, simple, elegant, and professional enough to keep me taken seriously, yet striking enough to turn heads. My reflection stared back at me. A woman I barely recognized. The woman who left her marriage, who survived heartbreak, who built herself from scratch, and yet still felt the pull of the past. When I arrived at the gala, the lobby of the Dallas Hilton glittered with crystal chandeliers, gold accents, and the soft murmur of conversations. Cameras flashed sporadically. Waiters glided through the crowd with trays of champagne. It was beautiful, intimidating, and entirely overwhelming. And then I saw him, Ethan, standing near the entrance, adjusting his cufflinks, surveying the room like a king assessing his court. He looked better than ever. Black tuxedo, sharp jawline, that impossible mix of power and grace. And when he saw me for a fraction of a second, I caught the old softness in his gaze, the one that had made me fall in love years ago. But then Rebecca appeared, linking her arm through his. A laugh. A joke. A touch. My chest tightened. The first confrontation. I tried to focus on mingling, introducing myself to clients, exchanging polite smiles. But my eyes kept finding him. And his eyes, when they found mine, it was like gravity pulled the room toward us. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he slipped away from Rebecca and approached me. "You look amazing," he said, his voice low and intimate. "Thanks," I whispered, trying to sound casual. He leaned slightly closer, close enough that the faint scent of his cologne reached me. Are you enjoying the gala? I hesitated. It's beautiful. Overwhelming but beautiful. He smirked. Kind of like us, huh? My stomach dropped. Like us. You know, he said softly. The way we used to collide, orbit, and spark. Intense, complicated, impossible to ignore. I bit my lip, trying not to let my emotions betray me. We've changed, Ethan. We're not the same people we were. He nodded, his gaze softening. No, but some things don't change. And there it was. The unspoken truth neither of us wanted to admit. We still had feelings. Deep, dangerous, undeniable feelings. Rebecca's jealousy and the office politics. Just then, Rebecca appeared again, a glass of champagne in hand. Ethan, you promised me a tour of the new floor, she said brightly. He hesitated, then shook his head. I'm actually going to spend a few minutes here. He gestured toward me. Rebecca's smile faltered. Oh, okay. Don't stay too long. I felt my chest tighten. Not from pride, but from fear. Fear that I was being pulled back into a world I had left behind. Fear that Ethan still cared, and that it could hurt me. The balcony moment. Later, escaping the crowded ballroom, I found a quiet balcony overlooking the Dallas skyline. The city lights glittered below, a reminder that life was moving forward, whether I was ready or not. Ethan followed, silently joining me. It's beautiful, I whispered, gazing at the skyline. Not as beautiful as you, he said quietly. I felt my face heat up. Ethan, don't, he interrupted softly. I can't pretend anymore. I thought I could stay professional, ignore what we had, ignore what's still between us. But I can't. My heart pounded. Ethan, we're co-workers. This isn't the right time. I know, he admitted. But I also know that pretending I don't care about you is impossible. We stood there, the wind lifting my hair, the city lights casting a glow on his face. Everything felt suspended in time. The past, the present, the tension, the longing. And then he reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face. The gesture was gentle, intimate, familiar. Tell me you don't feel it, he whispered. I swallowed. Ido. His lips were on mine before I could think, soft, hesitant, and then insistent. A kiss that carried every memory, every regret, every stolen moment we had lost. I didn't resist. I couldn't. The fallout. The next morning at the office, the tension was unbearable. We avoided each other, but the air was thick with unspoken words and desire. Rebecca noticed too. She cornered me near the copier. You think you can just step into this office and steal him? She hissed. I took a deep breath. I'm not trying to steal anyone. I'm just living my life. She scoffed. Living your life? You've been gone for years, Lily. You left him. And now you show up and suddenly he's yours again. I didn't respond. I just walked away, but the encounter left me rattled. Ethan, of course, noticed. His expression darkened during our team meeting. The subtle jealousy, the tension, it was impossible to hide. The first real confession. That evening, after another long day of meetings and client calls, Ethan asked me to stay behind. I need to talk to you, he said, closing the door behind us. I nodded, nervous. About what? About us, he said simply. I felt a wave of emotion I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. Ethan, we can't. We're co-workers. We've moved on, or at least tried to. Moved on, he echoed, voice low and sharp. You left me, Lily. 2 years ago. But I didn't move on. Not really. I pretended. I buried it. But every day I saw your name, every time someone mentioned your work, every time I imagined you, I wanted you. I still do. My breath caught. I wanted to cry, to scream, to throw myself into his arms, but I stayed silent. You're here now, he continued. You're brilliant, independent, and everything I lost. And I can't pretend anymore. I don't want to. The room felt impossibly small. His words, his gaze, the tension between us. It was overwhelming. "I don't know if we can do this," I whispered. "I don't know either," he admitted. "But I want to try." And in that moment, I realized something terrifying and exhilarating. The past wasn't over. Not for us. The turning point. From that night on, everything changed. The office wasn't just a place of work. It was a battlefield, a test, a playground for emotions we both tried to suppress. Every glance, every touch, every word carried meaning. The gala had shifted the balance. What had once been caution and professionalism now teetered on desire and vulnerability. We were drawn to each other in ways neither of us could resist, yet feared completely. And deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. The office felt different after the gala. Every corner seemed charged with electricity. Every glance carried a weight that had nothing to do with work. It was subtle at first, a brush of hands as we passed in the hallway, lingering eyes during meetings, the way Ethan's expression softened when he thought I wasn't looking. But subtlety has a way of building tension until it becomes unbearable. And soon, the subtle sparks between us were impossible to ignore. The morning after the gala, I arrived at the office on Monday morning, coffee in hand, still replaying the balcony moment in my head. The kiss, his touch, the vulnerability in his eyes. I was trying to act normal, professional, competent, detached, but I failed miserably the moment Ethan appeared at the elevator. "Morning," he said softly, almost hesitant. "Morning," I replied, voice slightly too high, heart racing. He didn't say anything else, just walked past me, and yet the air between us was heavy with unspoken words. I reminded myself, this is professional. Keep it together. Focus on work. Not him. Not the past. Rebecca strikes again. By mid-morning, Rebecca had noticed the change. She was a master at office politics, and she quickly realized that something was different between Ethan and me. "Busy?" she asked, leaning against my desk with that predatory smile she always wore when she sensed vulnerability. "Yes, just finishing a report," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "You know, Ethan's really impressed with you," she said casually, letting the words hang in the air. "Must be nice to have him watching your every move." I froze. Was she implying something? Did she know about the gala? Before I could respond, Ethan walked by. His eyes caught mine briefly, and I could see the subtle flicker of irritation, jealousy, even on his face. Rebecca noticed too and smiled knowingly, clearly enjoying the effect. I shook my head subtly, refusing to give her the satisfaction. But the seed of office tension had been planted. The private confrontation. That afternoon, Ethan asked me to join him in his office. My stomach tightened. What now? Another discussion about work? Or something more? He closed the door and gestured for me to sit. The office was quiet, the city skyline glowing behind him. "I can't stop thinking about the other night," he admitted, voice low. I swallowed hard. "Ethan, we need to focus on work." "We can't." "I know," he interrupted, holding up a hand. "I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about us. About what we feel. About what we're pretending isn't there." My pulse raced. I wanted to argue, to retreat, but I couldn't. We were married, Ethan. And it didn't work. "I left for a reason," I said softly. He shook his head. "And I've replayed it every day. I loved you, Lily. I still do. I can't just erase it. I don't want to." Tears threatened to spill. 2 years of longing, regret, and pain came rushing to the surface. "I can't keep doing this," I whispered. "Neither can I," he admitted. "But maybe we don't have to do it alone." The pressure of office politics. The next week was hell. Rebecca escalated her subtle attacks, making snide comments in meetings, flaunting her closeness to Ethan. One morning, as I walked past her office, she leaned out and smirked. "Careful, Lily. You're not the only one he's noticing these days." I clenched my jaw, refusing to engage. But the remark lingered in my mind. Was Ethan noticing her? Did our private moments mean nothing to him? Later that day, Ethan called me into his office again. His expression was tense, controlled, but there was fire in his eyes. "Rebecca," he said, his voice cold. "I don't want distractions. Focus on work. And don't let anything come between us again." My heart skipped a beat. He was claiming me, privately, subtly, undeniably. A heart-to-heart after hours. That evening I stayed late, finishing a critical presentation. Ethan appeared at my side, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I thought you might need this," he said softly, handing me one. "Thanks," I murmured, taking it. We walked to the balcony, the city lights sparkling below. The office was quiet except for the hum of the city. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked suddenly, breaking the silence. "Regret leaving?" he asked. "The first step toward healing." That weekend, Ethan and I met Tyler for dinner. The first awkward moments melted away as laughter, shared memories, and casual conversation filled the table. Tyler glanced between us, smiling. "I miss this," he said softly. I felt my heart swell. The boy we had raised together, caught in the middle of our past mistakes, was ready to embrace us again. Ethan reached across the table, brushing my hand with his. His touch was light, tentative, yet it carried all the weight of unspoken promises. "I want to fix this," he whispered. "So do I admitted. And for the first time in years, I believed we could. The realization. By the end of part 4, the stakes had shifted dramatically. Office politics, jealousy, and old wounds were no longer just obstacles. They were opportunities. Ethan and I were no longer just colleagues navigating tension. We were 2 people, flawed and human, rebuilding trust, exploring desire, and stepping carefully into second chances. And I knew deep down that the path ahead would be messy, emotional, and unpredictable, but it was ours. The week after the gala and Tyler's dinner felt different. The air between Ethan and me was no longer tense or charged with unresolved frustration. It was filled with cautious hope. Every glance, every interaction, every word carried the subtle undertone of intimacy, trust, and possibility. But rebuilding something that had been broken for 2 years was never going to be easy. Small moments, big meaning. It started with the little things. He would hold the door open for me, his hand brushing mine just enough to send a jolt of electricity up my arm. He would check in quietly during meetings, asking if I needed help or feedback. He never overstepped professionally, but the gestures were unmistakable. Care, attention, and the faint but persistent echo of love. One morning he appeared at my desk, a folder in hand. "I know you've been working long hours," he said softly. "Take a break. Go get some fresh air." "I can't," I replied, pretending to focus on my computer. "Lily," he said, his tone firm yet gentle. "You need to take care of yourself. Not just your work." I looked up at him, caught between exasperation and longing. His eyes, deep, intense, warm, held mine in a way that made it impossible to resist. "You've always been stubborn," he said with a faint smile. "Some habits die hard." I muttered, but my heart skipped a beat. A chance encounter. Later that week, while grabbing lunch, I ran into Ethan in the cafeteria. He was holding 2 sandwiches, a nervous smile on his face. "Lunch?" he asked, holding one out to me. I hesitated, then accepted. We sat at a corner table, the hum of the cafeteria around us but a bubble of intimacy enclosing us. "I've been thinking," he said, after a moment of silence, about how we got here. "I know it wasn't perfect before. I know I wasn't perfect for you. But maybe now we can try differently." I studied his face, looking for signs of insincerity or hesitation, but found none. Just honesty, vulnerability, and hope. "I want that too," I admitted softly. A heart-to-heart with Tyler. That weekend, I took Tyler to the park. Watching him play soccer with other kids, I realized how much had been lost in the years I had been apart. The guilt weighed heavily on me. "Mom," Tyler said suddenly, running up to me. "Can Dad and I play with me more often? Like all the time?" My heart clenched. "Tyler, I promise, we'll make more time. I want you to know I'm here for you. Always." "And you and Dad?" he asked innocently. I exchanged a glance with Ethan, who had been silently watching us from the sidelines. His eyes were soft, full of emotion. "We're working on it," I said, smiling. Tyler ran back to the game, leaving Ethan and me alone. The moment felt intimate, charged and unspoken. We were a family, imperfect but striving. And the spark between us wasn't just romantic. It was familial, foundational, and deeply real. The office confession. Monday arrived with its usual flurry of emails, meetings, and deadlines. But something in Ethan's demeanor had changed. There was a warmth in his eyes when he looked at me, a soft smile that had nothing to do with professionalism, and everything to do with connection. During a late afternoon meeting, he asked me to stay behind. I braced myself. "Lily," he began, voice low, "I know we've been cautious, careful, testing the waters. But I need you to know, I don't want to just be your boss. I want to be with you. Again. Fully. If you'll let me." My heart raced. I had rehearsed what I would say, how I would resist, how I would protect myself. But none of that mattered when I saw the earnestness in his eyes. "I want that too," I whispered. He reached out, taking my hand in his. Warmth radiated through me. "Then let's do this slowly, carefully together." A romantic evening. That Friday, Ethan suggested we take Tyler out for dinner, and then stay late at the office for a quick project check. I hesitated but agreed. The evening started with laughter at dinner, Tyler teasing both of us mercilessly, and ended with Ethan and me alone in the office. The city lights shimmered through the windows. The office was quiet except for the hum of computers and the occasional flicker of a streetlight. Ethan approached me, his expression tender. "Lily, I've missed this. You. Us. Everything." "I've missed it too," I admitted. We moved closer, and this time there was no hesitation. No fear. Just a slow, tentative embrace that quickly became a passionate kiss. Years of longing, regret, and desire poured into that moment. We pulled back slightly, foreheads resting together, breaths mingling. "We're taking this one step at a time," he whispered. "I wouldn't have it any other way," I replied. Challenges ahead. Despite the emotional progress, challenges remained. Office gossip, Rebecca's attempts to undermine us, and our own insecurities threatened to pull us apart. But the bond we were rebuilding, rooted in honesty, love, and shared history, was stronger than the obstacles. One evening, as we stayed late working together, Rebecca stormed into the office. "You two are impossible," she snapped. "Everyone sees what's going on." Ethan remained calm, protective. "This is none of your concern," he said firmly. Rebecca huffed and left, but the moment solidified something in me. Ethan wasn't just my ex. He was my partner in rebuilding, my protector, and the man I still loved more than I had ever admitted to myself. A glimpse of the future. By the end of part 5, I realized that love isn't perfect. It's messy, emotional, and unpredictable. But it's also resilient, powerful, and capable of healing even the deepest wounds. Ethan and I were navigating uncharted territory. Office politics, personal insecurities, and the delicate process of reconnecting. But for the first time in years, I felt alive, hopeful, and certain that the past hadn't ended. It had prepared us for a second chance. The next steps would test us, challenge us, and push us to our limits. But one thing was clear. We were ready to face them together. The second chance. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of emotion, work, and careful reconnection. Ethan and I navigated the tricky balance of being colleagues, co-parents, and rekindling lovers. Every day brought its challenges, but also moments that reminded me why I had fallen in love with him in the first place. We were no longer the same people we had been 2 years ago. We were stronger, wiser, and more aware of what we wanted and what we couldn't live without. The big project success. Carter Innovations was preparing for a major product launch, the kind that could define the company's future. Ethan entrusted me with leading the campaign, a sign of his renewed trust in my abilities. Working together was seamless. There was no tension, no hesitation, only teamwork, understanding, and subtle sparks that reminded us both that the connection we shared was unbreakable. The launch night arrived, and as the product unveiled to the audience, I felt Ethan's hand brush against mine under the table. His eyes met mine, and in that glance was everything: pride, love, forgiveness, and hope. We had survived the past, and now we were stepping into the future together. Tyler's joy. Tyler, our son, had been our anchor throughout this journey. He had witnessed our struggles, our mistakes, and now our reconciliation. That evening, as we drove home from the launch party, he glanced at us from the back seat. "I'm glad you guys are back together," he said quietly. I reached into the back and ruffled his hair. "We're glad too, buddy. We're never leaving again." Ethan smiled in the rearview mirror, his eyes soft. "We're a team. Always." For the first time in years, I felt a profound sense of completeness, not just in my romantic life, but in my family life. The proposal. A week later, Ethan asked me to meet him after work at the office. The building was quiet, the city skyline glowing outside the windows. He held a small box in his hands, and I felt a familiar flutter in my chest. "I know the past has been messy," he began, voice steady but emotional. "I know we've made mistakes, hurt each other, and taken the long way around. But I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And I don't want to wait another day." He opened the box, revealing a delicate, sparkling ring. "Lily Parker," he said, dropping to one knee. "Will you marry me again?" Tears streamed down my face. "Yes," I whispered, my voice choked with emotion. "Yes, Ethan. I will." He slid the ring onto my finger, and in that moment the past, the pain, the distance, it all disappeared. We were together again, stronger than ever, ready to face life's challenges as partners, lovers, and parents. The reconciliation. The weeks that followed were filled with planning, laughter, and rebuilding routines. Work became easier because we respected boundaries. Our personal life flourished because we communicated openly. Even Rebecca, who had tried to come between us, eventually backed off when she realized that Ethan and I were stronger together than apart. Our bond, tested by distance, jealousy, and time, had emerged unbreakable. Every glance, every touch, every conversation was now a celebration of second chances. We no longer feared the past. We embraced it as the foundation for the love we had rebuilt. A family united. One Sunday morning, Ethan, Tyler, and I went to our favorite park. The sun glistened through the leaves, and the air was filled with laughter and the scent of fresh-cut grass. Tyler ran ahead, then turned and waved, shouting, "Mom! Dad! Catch me!" Ethan reached for my hand. "Ready?" he asked, smiling. "Always," I replied. We ran after him, chasing our son, chasing life, chasing happiness that had once seemed impossible. And in that moment, I knew that we had not only rekindled our love, but had become a family once more, stronger, wiser, and unafraid of the future. Reflections. Sitting in our living room that evening, Ethan poured us both a glass of wine. We sat quietly, fingers intertwined, watching Tyler play with his toys. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" I asked softly. "All the time," he said, leaning his head against mine. "We've been through heartbreak, distance, mistakes, and misunderstandings. But somehow we found our way back to each other. And I wouldn't trade any of it." "Neither would I whispered. We clinked glasses, a quiet toast to forgiveness, resilience, and love. The kind of love that survives mistakes, distance, and time. The kind that grows stronger with every challenge. The future. Our story wasn't perfect, and it never would be. But it was ours. We had learned that love is not about avoiding mistakes. It's about choosing to face them together. That family is not just about being there when things are easy, but about showing up when it's hard. And that second chances, when nurtured with patience and honesty, can create a life more beautiful than the first. Ethan and I had fallen in love once, lost our way, and now found each other again. And this time we weren't leaving. We were building a life, a career, a family, a love that was stronger, wiser, and unbreakable. Together. And that was more than enough.